Hey everyone, welcome back to Pure IT's Tech Roundup. We are very excited to have a company join us today. In the Tech Roundup, we really try to highlight and curate a combination of technologies and partnerships and what's doing well in the industry. And so today we have Janusea with us. And I want to share why I'm so excited about having Janusea join us today. Is my background in the credit union space. I always had challenges with integrations and how tools would work together and what could I do with my core, and it just I'm so excited about how things are blowing up and how that everything is more possible and that we can connect things more efficiently and effectively as technology continues to develop. So I have a great team with me here today. I have Jack Smith, our Pure IT's CEO. We have Masako from Janusea, the VP of Sales, and we also have Kyle, the CEO of Janusea. And so we know that there's a bit of a blend here, and we're going to have a ton of fun diving in on what Janusea is doing in the industry, what Pure IT is really seeing in the value from our partners and how they're already interacting with Janusea and what improvements they're seeing. And I'm so excited to jump in. So Masako and Kyle, can you guys give us a little introduction and tell us a little bit about Janusea?
Go ahead, Masako. You can get started.
Sure. So I'm Masako, the VP of Sales at Janusea. Really, our goal with Janusea is not to have core integration be a barrier, nor really should it be a differentiator. We want fintech technology to be the best version of themselves. And so we facilitate them being able to write and receive real-time communications so they can focus on things that they do best. And we can talk a little bit more in detail about how we do that a little bit further in this conversation, but really we want to be an open ecosystem that allows anyone on our platform an easy way to communicate in this industry.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add that I'm tired of limited choices for credit unions, tired of people not being able to choose what's best for their members and for their employees. And that's the main driver for why we started Janusea. How do we have an ability to connect people together? And we're really excited. It's not just about connecting people together, but also about what happens when a bunch of people come together around a platform and the collaboration of an industry, which then we believe creates a movement of innovation. And that's all around what Janusea is doing, and I think relates really well with the sister company and partner in Pure IT. It was really the work done there that just emphasized more and more about how much of a challenge this is in our industry and why it needs to be solved.
I couldn't agree more. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I was just going to concur with Kyle. I think that, obviously we know a lot about Janusea. We're an investor in their organization. We believe in what they're doing wholeheartedly. It was birthed out of really what we were seeing. I mean, I think Kyle brought with him to Pure IT initially 7 years ago a lot of experience in the credit union space. He'd been a COO, he'd been a CIO of a credit union, and really knew a lot of the issues and problems that they were facing from a technology perspective, and brought that to the Pure IT team when we first started. And a lot of the consulting we were doing, we kept running into the same problems with integration, with trying to bring fintechs to bear that could really help the credit union differentiate itself in the marketplace, help provide better services to their members. And Kyle really, really had a passion about this problem and really wanted to see it solved from a big picture perspective. And so we were very fortunate for him to find an organization that was actually providing that was doing it from a technology perspective, but on a small scale, really helping around call center integrations, but didn't realize that, or actually did realize that they had something that could integrate into 19 different cores across banking and credit unions, and really had something really cool, but wasn't leveraging it in that way at that point in time. And so to see what Kyle and Janusea are doing in the space, to know the impact they're going to have, we've already brought them to bear in some of our clients that we've had, some longstanding organizations that we've worked with that have really needed this help to really strategically help the credit union grow, and not only look at how they can add different software and better serve their members, but as well as the M&A pieces of this. And I think Kyle kind of alluded to it, and I'd like to ask Kyle a question. The opportunity to have a platform of this size with that many institutions, what does that open up from an innovation standpoint for the industry? What are some of the things that you see in the future?
Yeah, I mean, well, to start with, we have credit unions that already are live with new account opening, but not just new account opening, but identities, digital identities that then moved into new account opening, which is awesome to see. We have fraud solutions that we're never able to get to core data. So there's new real-time or near real-time fraud solutions that are happening. Conversational AI tools, all of these things are in motion, and that's just scratching the surface. I think one of our credit unions just brought we're using a GL package, right, or GL solution, and it's outside of our core, and that creates a bunch of double entry as well as the risk of maybe some errors along the way or batch files that just aren't updated frequently enough. And so we're starting down that path to help them. So those are the things that are happening today, and this is just a small subset of them. What's really exciting is what does it mean to have thousands of institutions that are all connected and have the possibility of working together. And that's where innovation starts to become really interesting. So now a new solution that comes into the market can quickly go to the market and say, well, would you like to try this out? I mean, is there a pilot opportunity? Is there a way to interface with a new solution that you maybe wouldn't have considered before because just the entry point was too large? Or for us, a message is just this movement of data, but what can a message be? A message could be money movement, right? A message could be onboarding a new member or actually doing transactions like a shared branching component. I mean, we're not trying to compete with any specific solution. We're trying to build a network of people that work together. So if you want to work with a new solution, or if there's an opportunity to do even settlement between institutions, or maybe a Zelle type solution between members, those things are all possible in the future. And part of the reason they're possible is because people are starting to collaborate now, and they're working to serve immediate needs, but also have a mind to the future of what does it mean if now everybody can communicate, and that core legacy system isn't a barrier, it's just an endpoint, and the platform is doing that translation so people can all communicate together. It's pretty exciting. We're just scratching the surface of what it means for innovation, because every time we have conversations with a new fintech or a new financial institution, they come up with a new crazy but amazing way that they might be able to use this going forward.
Yeah, and I would say like some of the credit unions we speak to right now, before they might approach a fintech that they're interested in and say, do you work with my core? And they have to that's the first barrier, right? Like if they say no, then they have nothing to do. But now some of the credit unions we work with want to eliminate that. And instead of saying, do you work with my core? They say, we have this partnership with Janusea, which acts like a middleware layer. So now they know that they can talk to any kind of application. So if they find a new and upcoming application that they really are interested in and want to implement, that's not a barrier for them. And then we can work with them as their integration partner to figure out what the correct steps are, right? But that allows for, again, more innovative thinking up front.
Yeah.
So
one of the
ultimately
unique
removing I was just going to
Go
say,
ahead, Erin.
ultimately removing the challenges and really opening up options and enabling to not be required only with what I can integrate with or what I know how to do. But this really opens it up, and for the industry to say, I love their solution and I don't care how I have to get it done. I can integrate. I can use that. I can take that technology and share it with my membership and make my company more efficient, more open, more user friendly, whatever the goal is of the institution and what they're trying to accomplish. That's just so exciting to me.
And
Go ahead.
it alleviates the anxiety from the fintech side as well, because they want to do business with these financial institutions, right? But then they when they hear that, like, okay, I've only integrated one core, now what's it going to take for me to do the next core? So if we're there being able to facilitate that conversation, it helps with the kind of a resourcing standpoint, again, helping the fintech be the best version of themselves. But for the fintech, they only have to write to us once. We do the translation, so they're not spending the time doing the integration. But on the credit union side, there's definitely cost, time, and resource, the ability to like really shrink down the cost and the time to be able to implement the first time, but then future times, there's not additional cost, there's not additional time to be able to do that because they've already written once to our platform.
Yeah.
Well, Masako, that's what I was about to say. I was about to say that's a unique value proposition.
Yeah.
That's a unique value proposition that you guys, I feel, bring to the table, right? Is the understanding. So there's two things you said in that, Masako, that I want to touch on that I was going to touch on a second ago too, which is the translation, right? The common language, creating a common language. And then the second piece of that is really understanding the financial institutions side of this, right? And understanding that there's customization that goes on internally at credit unions around their core, and that fields get changed. But we have that Janusea has that internal knowledge to really help the credit union on their side make it easier to get these APIs up and running quickly. And so, Kyle, I was going to ask, what is some of the thought process that's gone into building that out for the client base, and how does that scale out to help the credit union industry as a whole?
Yeah, well, because it's a collaborative platform, all the work we do is work we can build on for others. So we have a template. We think of use cases, and we have to be careful with some of our language we've learned, because in the technology world, like some people say a use case and they think like, well, this is like 3 fields that you can work with. For us, a use case is an actual business problem, right? What are we trying to accomplish from a business perspective? And so we take these business perspective needs, and then we're able to build out and standardize those calls so they can be used over and over again. And it varies based on what is needed for the institution, but because we're focused on an industry, we get to leverage what other people have done, even if it's not the same thing. The innovation that's happening at a fintech or innovation happening at a credit union is still unique to them, but the barrier to the integrations, we're trying to make a level playing field, so that's not there. So we can often leverage work that has been done before. We can advance work that's been done while still letting the uniqueness happen on the front end. One of those things I was thinking, Jack, you and I have conversations frequently. I know Aaron does too, Pure IT especially, with CEOs, right? So you're involved and you're making these roadmaps, and I don't want to overemphasize the problem, but I heard it for 7 years over and over again. What's it like to know you buy a solution and then you find out your people are double entering, data? What's it like to say, well, we had this great marketing idea, we're using HubSpot now, which is actually something Pure IT brought to us, both individually as well as with a couple of clients. Those APIs are not actually connected to legacy systems. And all of a sudden you have a wonderful capability that then's hindered by that. So I just thought maybe you guys could talk a little bit more what it means to be able to have choice, what it means to actually be able to take systems that couldn't talk to each other, and how maybe some of the CEOs or executives react to that possibility of doing this themselves.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest problems you solve right off the bat, Kyle, and we feel this, I mean, every executive feels this, right, is the data integrity and being able to make decisions based on actual data flow that comes to you real time, right? And so one of the things that I think Janusea does, to your point, that's very important from an executive standpoint, is the more systems I get interconnected and can get data from into one pane of glass, it makes my job much easier. I mean, I read a lot of leadership books, and one of the things that they always say is, good leaders make 3 really important decisions a day and get 3 things focused on and done a day, right? That's what they really do. And so it's this, but you need good data to make good decisions, and your decision-making ability is hampered when you have disparate data separated by different things. And so anything that you can do to get connected, and anything that you can do to get data to come to a common place, is hugely important, especially from a how you leverage it to either better serve your members, provide better products and services. I think I mentioned to you before, one of the things that I find interesting about Janusea too, because some of the Pure IT clients that we talk to are in M&A activity, right? And one of the biggest concerns they have is when I go buy a credit union that's on a different core, that is going to be the largest problem we have through this merger, right? It's how do we do that? And so one of the things that I'm impressed by, and that I'm excited about for Janusea, is that you can create an extraction layer or a middle tier where you can actually have multiple cores and still have an interface from a user perspective that's singularity between different core providers. So to me, that value is tremendous right off the bat if that's one of your pursuits from a strategic standpoint for a credit union. So when we're doing consulting, we get asked about that. What should our technology posture be? How do we make sure that it's easy if we're going to go out and do M&A? How do we make sure we can get these credit unions integrated quickly? And to me, Janusea is a intricate piece of that puzzle, and it solves a huge problem. So anything, I mean, you guys want to say, but to me personally, you asked me, what do I see from a pure IT perspective? That's one use case that I talk to a lot of the CEOs about, that they get excited about, because it's a huge problem.
Yeah, I've seen that
Aaron?
one come up. I've seen that one come up quite a bit, actually, when in speaking with credit unions, because there is a path where a lot of, the M&A is picking up again, and they want to bring on, acquire smaller entities or merge. And also I've seen smaller credit unions coming together to do kind of managed services together. So they're trying to figure out, do I move to these different cores? But if the managed service layer can then do something like, we can deal with the cores and then wait till they end their contract, then move them over, that they like the thought of that as well, being able to consolidate but not have to go through all the process challenges in the meantime.
Absolutely. So I know we're getting short on time here, but we've talked some about what the value from a fintech perspective is. We've talked about some of the values just directly to the credit union and what is capable, what is possible, where you don't have to be hamstrung any longer, where you thought maybe you did in the past. We've talked about how it can help your business grow, right? As the credit unions, we've seen the number of credit unions shrinking tremendously. And that's because there are the mergers and acquisitions that are underway. And so this can really help streamline that process as well. I mean, there's so many avenues that we can see the value from in this industry with this particular technology that Janusea is bringing to the industry, which is why Pure IT is super excited to kind of highlight it and specialize and draw some attention to it for those partners that are following along at home. Any fun things on the horizon as we get close to wrapping up that Janusea has, or anything else that you guys want to share while we're together?
Well, we've been busy talking to a lot of fintechs, so hopefully there's a lot more announcements about ecosystem partners that are coming on. So I think that'll be exciting for a lot of the credit unions that are looking for different technologies, and maybe that first foray onto a middleware platform. But we are picking up with the conference scene again. We're going to be doing we'll be at AFT, CUNA Tech, Intersect, Venture Tech, and maybe some others here and there. I'm working out that kind of schedule, but September, October, November will definitely be a busy time for us. Yeah.
I just say we're continuing to expand our partnerships. Jack had mentioned something around those single pane of glass and be able to get data in a single spot. One of the things that actually Pure IT brought was a platform partner, Datava, who does workflows and does CRM and does interfaces. But the reason that all these conversations happened between us and Pure IT and Datava is that it was that, right? There's ability for real-time communication to happen, employees to stay in one system and still be able to serve members, as well as get to BI and CRM data. But in that too, we're working on partnerships that can do some interesting things, like the potential for a CEO executive dashboard that's possible, that doesn't matter what core you're on. Here's some consistent information that you can talk to and possibly then have some peer comparisons and other items. The hard part is that we're not always the sexy app. We're not that front end interface. Right. I mean,
we're plumbing.
we love what we're doing and the innovation that happens, but we get to support all kinds of innovation that's happening out of credit unions, even out of community banks, and then at fintechs, and we get to help make that more impactful, and we get to help that grow. And that's really what's exciting. The collaboration part of that is what's fun, and that way we get into a lot of conversations, and we get to know about a lot of new technologies that are out there, and the reason for them, which is really, I think, Masako and I really kind of feed on that. It's really exciting to see the possibilities for our whole credit union industry as you get to talk to more and more people doing amazing things. And I know Pure IT gets to do a lot of that too, and that's where we share a lot of information back and forth from a partnership standpoint. Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say the passion that both entities share for the space, right? Because one of the things that I wanted to highlight before we get off, and I know we're short on time, was just, so you guys have done a great job of mentioning all the values, but I want to say that one of the things that we've done is we've actually brought enterprise license from Janusea to a few of our credit union partners to help them strategically. And so we've talked a lot about the use cases, but it's been hugely helpful. And so one of the things that, again, we always try to do is bring good things that help a credit union from a pure IT perspective. It doesn't have to be our technology or something that we see. It can be another vendor. And in this perspective, that is really happening a lot with some of our more strategic clients who really see the value. So I think the fact that you're offering enterprise licensing to the financial institutions to help them is game changing. So I just wanted to highlight that as well before we go, because I think that's huge.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today for our Tech Roundup, and we look forward to connecting and seeing you all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.